Finally, it happened. Britt Baker won the AEW Women's Championship. We are finally in the era of D.M.D. I say finally because it was clear at the beginning of AEW that Britt Baker was supposed to be the face of the women's division. But it took longer than expected. The rise of Britt Baker in AEW is a story unto itself. It started with a failed babyface run, then a worldwide pandemic, followed by a broken nose, then a broken leg. A rough year that should have derailed her career, but it didn't. Surprisingly, she became more popular being sidelined. And why, you ask? Two simple words. Heel turn. Britt's heel turn was the best thing that ever happened to her. You couple that with a classic lights out match with Thunder Rosa, that set the stage for Britt Baker to capture the AEW Women's Championship. Then, it happened. Finally. Now, we turn the page and begin a new chapter. The summer of D.M.D. So where do we begin? It appears AEW has chosen Nyla Rose as Britt's first challenger for her AEW Women's Championship. Now, Nyla is not who I would have chosen for this spot, but if it has to happen, I would do it on night 2 of Fyter Fest, and of course, Britt would go over. The next place I would have Britt Baker defend her championship is on the debut episode of AEW Rampage, which is also going to be in Britt's hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Britt is going to be a massive babyface in this match, which makes it difficult to find an opponent. Honestly, this is where I would have had Nyla challenge for the title. But this leaves me with two options. Chris Statlander and Ty Conti. I'm going to pick Chris Statlander to challenge Britt Baker here. This will be Chris's first big match since her return from her injury, but she will come up short. Once again, Britt Baker wins. Then we arrive in Chicago, Illinois for AEW All Out. The person I have chosen to challenge Britt, I believe, is the best wrestler signed to AEW, Serena Deeb. Serena is just the challenger to give Britt another great match on her resume. Serena has consistently put on good matches for AEW and the NWA. Although it would be tempting to put the championship on Serena here as a feel-good moment, I'm not going to do that. Britt retains. Then we arrive at AEW Dynamite Grand Slam from Queens, New York. This is a special show for AEW, as is AEW's first show in New York. Although there are several up-and-comers including Layla Hirsch, Ty Conti, and Red Velvet, I think you require something more special for an event like this. I would go with someone new, a new signee. The person I have in mind is Ruby Soho, the former Ruby Riott. This is a perfect spot for her to have her first match in AEW. It also creates some doubt as to whether Britt would win or Ruby would win. However, in my scenario, Britt wins again. All roads lead to Full Gear, where Britt Baker would defend her championship against Thunder Rosa. I know many of you would call this predictable booking, but predictable doesn't mean bad. In my opinion, predictable is just a preferred destination. The preferred destination for me is a rematch with Thunder Rosa. The lights out match between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa is the best match in AEW Women's history. To do the rematch for the AEW Women's Championship at Full Gear could potentially be the main event for that show. And at this show is where Britt Baker's title reign ends and Thunder Rosa finally claims the AEW Women's Championship. That's how I would book the summer of D.M.D.